Archer Aviation is asking shareholders to approve a move to Texas. And at the first glance, that sounds like a simple corporate admin decision. But when you zoom out, this sits right in the middle of three things happening at once. A shift in legal structure, increasing insider activity, and a noticeable ramp in hiring across engineering and operations. So the real question is not what Archer is doing, it's what stage Archer is entering. Because companies don't change structure, they don't compensate flow and hiring patterns at the same time by accident. Hey up everyone, welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. I'm Vaz. Do you know what time it is? Time to start talking eVTOLs. Stay with me on this one because this is not just about Texas. This is about how Archer is positioning itself before things start getting real operationally. How about that? So first, the headline. Archer is asking shareholders to approve a redomestication from Delaware to Texas. This will be voted on their annual meeting, shareholders meeting scheduled for late June this year. Important clarification straight away. This does not mean Archer is moving into its headquarters or operations out of California. This is a legal domicile change. So the reasons are fairly straightforward. We have lower friction and costs compared to Delaware, a legal framework that is becoming more business friendly, let's say, and alignment, and this is very important, with Texas and a future operational market under the FAA's eVTOL initial pilot program. There are also government's implications here. Texas corporate law is evolving to offer more predictability and stronger prediction for management decision. So while this is not an operational catalyst, it is a structural decision ahead of what Archer hopes will be its early deployment phase. This is less about growth and more about preparing the rulebook a company will operate under. Now, when you see a structural move like this, the next logical question is, what are insiders doing at the same time? Archer has reported a noticeable level of insider selling activity recently. When you go through the filings, the key is understanding the type and structure of activity, not just the headline numbers. So broadly speaking, the activity falls into two main categories with Archer. First, we have compensation-related sales. So these are the shares sold to cover tax obligations linked to RSU or performance share vesting. They are mechanical, policy-driven, and typically occur at the moment shares are delivered to insiders. Second structure, we have pre-planned trading programs under the rule 105B-1 or the subcategory 1. And I'm not flexing, I've learned this before, I did my research before the show. These are trading plans set up in advance, often months earlier, where shares are sold automatically under predefined conditions, regardless of market timing or sentiment. And both of these categories appear repeatedly across multiple executives and board members in Archer's recent filings. So we have multiple directors and very high-level directors, including the CEO, offloading their shares in the recent period, in the last 1 or 2 quarters. But there is also the timing element to consider. A number of these transactions, they cluster around vesting cycles and compensation events, which naturally this creates the impression of elevated insider selling, even though the underlying driver is administrative rather than strategic. So what we are not clearly seeing in the recent filings is a consistent pattern of large, unstructured, discretionary, if you will, selling by core leadership, purely based on market outlook. That distinction matters because structured selling does not eventually reflect a view on valuation, and discretionary selling often does. So I just want to show you some numbers from Robinhood, which was brought to me this morning, and I thank you, Jag, for that. You know who that is when you are watching. This is Robinhood. We can see quite big red indication here, or orange indication of insider selling and filed sellings. But also we can see quite a lot of buying for last month or last quarter. So the division is about 60 buying, 40 selling. Again, this is just, it leads us to a structured, planned offloading. On the contrary, if we want to look at Robinhood data, this is hedge funds. You cannot see it, it's cropped, but it's hedge funds. And you can see quite good activity, especially for the last quarter. And if we zoom in, and if we look at the very closest data to Robinhood, this is the Robinhood activity. And I think we can see a trend in here, at least in the last few days. The sentiment is not so negative, and we might be going fairly sideways. So the conclusion here, yes, there is insider activity, but a significant portion of it appears structured or compensation driven, which is very different from a directional signal. Now, this is more about how equity compensation flows through the system than a statement of confidence or lack of it. Again, looks like it's structured, it's prepared. Now, the part that's getting less attention, but probably matters more: hiring. Archer is hiring, or Archer's hiring activity remains heavily concentrated in California, particularly in San Jose, which is their home base, which continues to act as the core of engineering and development hub. And the mix of roles given is a very clear indication where company is in its life cycle. They are hiring across 3 key layers. First, for engineering. This includes flight systems, avionics, propulsion, and simulation. These are the disciplines required to support certification level validation, certification progress, and certification level validation, and not early stage concept development, because we already have been through this with Archer. Second discipline, manufacturing and production engineering. Roles focused on tooling, production process, and system integration. This points toward building repeatability, not just prototypes, as you can see behind me. And third, Archer have been posting very vigorously their job offers, as you can see on these posts behind me from X. Third, certification, flight, and safety-related roles. These are directly tied to regulatory engagement and operational readiness. That combination is important because it shows parallel development across engineering, certification, and production rather than a linear progression. So in simple terms, Archer is not just refining the aircraft. It is preparing to prove it can build and operate it under regulatory oversight. Now, beyond California, there are additional signals. The UK, United Kingdom, is emerging as secondary engineering hub with senior level hiring indicating from this market. So there are also signs of activity linked to Texas aligning with future operational deployment and infrastructure deployment. We know that Texas will be a hotspot, or will be maybe it will be the very hotspot of the flying taxi early deployment in the United States. So this is very important. And more broadly, we are seeing roles tied to software, operations, and internal systems, which support scaling beyond a single site development model. So geographically and functionally, the company is starting to spread out. And that usually happens when a company transitions from development to execution. Archer is no longer just an engineering organization. Archer is no longer just an engineering organization. It is becoming a multi-layer operation combining engineering, manufacturing, certification, and early operational capability. And that shift tends to be one of the most complex phases for any aerospace program. So just to wrap this up, this is Archer's British headquarters, by the way, behind me. So just to wrap this up, when you put it all together, you have legal structure, shift to Texas, structured inside the activity, and a ramp in hiring across key functions. This does not point to a single headline event. It points to a transition phase from development to execution. And that's where things usually get more difficult, but also more meaningful for investors. Because building the aircraft is one thing, proving you can operate it, where the real test begins. Maybe this is the signal. We don't need to jump, or we probably can tone down the panic mode and slightly start shifting into the patience mode and waiting for the payoff. That's not it. We will have a look at the charts. I will show you a tweet of the day. Bear with me. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in the nick of time.
You're only 20 minutes of the eVTOL market updates you need daily.
That was a wrong button I pressed originally. What you can see behind me is, by the way, Archer. They took part in presentation together with United Airlines. Why I'm talking about United Airlines? Because tomorrow after the closing bell, we are covering United Airlines earnings call. And I will be there. And are we going to hear anything about the EIPP? Are we going to hear anything about Texas deployment? Are we going to hear anything about Archer? There's only one way to find out. Join me tomorrow after the closing bell. Tweet of the day has disappeared somewhere. I just wanted to show you that Archer are engaging with their partners. They had something I would call an investor open day at their Hawthorne Airport, their future home base in Los Angeles. Now, let's have a look at the charts and the eVTOL market. Please zoom out. This is the preview of what I consider the whole eVTOL market as we can trade it, the whole organic structure. We have companies making the aircraft like Archer, Joby, Vertical Aerospace, and more. We have the parent companies and institutional investors, and we also have the supply chain and operators. If we have a look at it, it's fairly red. I'm not surprised, because in the current environment, who gets the first hit? It's always the tech and growth stocks. There you are. Archer is just turning green as we speak about it, but it's not been a very glorious day. What I would like to highlight is Amprius. First of all, Amprius, today, for the first time, we hit the $20 mark. Just to sell off or pull back, maybe some profit taking, but Amprius has finally hit the $20 mark. Archer Aviation, I do apologize, my voice is getting a bit tired. I've not been feeling very well, so I will try to make it through to the end. I won't be long. If you have any questions, fire them away in the chat. I'll be with you in a minute. And then I will send you off to Martyn for the closing bell show. Archer Aviation, $6.07, slight downside today, moving fairly around and below, slightly below the $6 mark. If you look at the ramp from last week, we are moving sideways. And I wouldn't be surprised if all the eVTOL stocks are going to be moving sideways. Joby, just above $9. This big green candle, it's just algorithmic. It could be one trade triggering this and the chart picks it up. Sometimes when you zoom in to a smaller time frame, you wouldn't see this candle. So don't get confused. There was no massive sell-off. That could be just one transaction at a time at a higher volume, and it can just pick up. The data can be picked up by the brokerage. Vertical Aerospace sitting between $3 and $2.60, which is our comfortable zone before we start taking off, hopefully, and hopefully for the company and for you as an investor. Vertical, we've got some more news on Vertical. I will be bringing you update on Vertical through the week. Anything else worthwhile? I don't think. Oh yeah, Surf Air Mobility. That was going to be the story of the day, because Surf Air Mobility have revised their guidance. They came up with positive revision. Look at the reaction. Massive spike. And now we are even lower. Something to look into. And I will be with you on this later. Let's get back in the studio, talk to you in the chat, and I will send you off to Martyn. Back in the studio. As you can see, I've got full-blown production backup behind me. Let's go in the chat room. I could see some good messages before the show already. You got me very excited. Right, where are we with the chat? There we go. First, yes, I was here first. I can't spell it, but I was here first. Kers was second. Abby, I do apologize. Abby was here third. Thank you, Abby, for joining Discord as well. Love to see you back. I loved it. High Energy Investment was fourth. Happy eVTOL Monday. Love it. DJ Hayes. Yes, that was the message that got me excited. Another good day for Amprius today. Sold another 25% of my bag at $19.99. Congratulations. This is prime investing and trading what we are doing here. I love it, DJ Hayes. Martyn is here. Hey, love it. Vast time. Always enjoy this. Love the music. As you know what time it is. Love it. I've got a great audience today. Thank you very much for joining. Would you like to hit the like button? And if you are new to this sector, if you follow Archer or the flying taxi sector, or if you are into disruptive and high risk, high reward plays, subscribe, because we are bringing you updates on this topic daily. Martyn, love the music. As you know what time it is. Wingo is here as well. I don't think I have seen you on my show. Welcome on eVTOL Daily. Liz is here. Seth Thompson, Archer Report, let's go. Thank you for the support. Abby, hello Vaz, and all viewers and listeners. Good afternoon. Future eVTOL millionaires, says High Energy Investment. Adam Goldstein is a great CEO. And he also says, High Energy Investment, Archer, $12 to $15 by the end of the year. Well, I will do you better. I think next quarter, Archer will be between 9 and 12. I don't want to say it, but how about that? WTF, let's go Amprius. Yes, congratulations to everyone making money with Amprius as well. Evening, Vaz Edwu, and all is Devonshire, Northy, and Mark Freyher. Hi Vaz, Archer is looking better as a serious investment. Right, we've got a poll. I'm closing the poll and I will send you off to Martyn in 30 seconds. Is Archer Aviation doing well or not so much? Could be better, 36%. On the track, 33%. Disappointing, 19%. Undecided, 12%. Interesting. To me, I don't want to say they could be doing better, because delays, they happen. New technology, we are certifying and developing aircraft that will be flying over people's heads. Something you don't want to rush, really. I would rather see some delays and setbacks, as long as they are fairly and well communicated, rather than rushing something and rushing into a disaster, potentially. Seth says also, what do you think is a realistic timeline for Archer to reach $10 again? Next quarter. This is not a financial advice, this is just my own opinion, but I can see Archer next quarter being between $9 and $12 easily. Got a special message from our special guest before we go.
At High Energy Investments tipped $2 through Super Chat. Thanks, Vaz.
Thank you for your support. I love it. We've got one more message from Stu. Hello, Vaz, watching from Scotland. I love it. I'm based in Cambridgeshire. Last question, Mark Freyer. Will artificial intelligence play a part in development of this tech? Yes, definitely. We talked about it, I think, last week. Joby, we did some breakdown with Joby, but definitely I'll be dedicating more time, airtime, and space to this. Right, that's it from me. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, with the topic of the day for the eVTOL, and then, after hours, United Airlines earnings call. Are they going to talk about Archer? Because if they mention Archer, that could be a big catalyst. Just saying. That's it from me. I'll see you tomorrow. Now, off to Martyn. Stay where you are. We'll take you there automatically. Take care of yourselves and each other.